What's good, everyone? Thank you for stopping by to visit the channel for this upcoming game preview. If you want to stay updated in the world of college football, if you haven't done so already, pound that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and select all so you won't miss another video. Last week, we had such a fun time in Athens, Georgia. We're going to go back there again, as this week, as the 14th ranked Volunteers of Tennessee take on the 3rd ranked Georgia Bulldogs. The Vols come into this game with the nation's longest winning streak after dispatching Missouri last week, and Georgia is riding high off of their dominating win against Auburn. So as we like to start with every single preview, we like to review the tail of the tape. So as we can see here, Georgia is holding firm at their overall SP Plus ranking at 4th in the country. Their offensive SP Plus ranking went from 50th to 38th after their impressive showing against Auburn, while Tennessee went up one spot in offensive SP Plus, and they are currently in the top 10 in defensive SP Plus. Now, as we can see, both defenses look to have a heavy advantage against their offensive counterparts. SP Plus likes the Bulldogs as a 14.5 point favorite with an 80% win probability, and the neighbors in Vegas opened with Georgia as a 14 point favorite at the time of recording. So I think it's safe to say that a week made a lot of difference here. 2 weeks ago, Georgia could not run the ball against Arkansas. They had a 36% rushing success rate. They had 21% of their runs stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line generated 2.3 line yards per carry. They had 4.26 yards per play, and 8% of their plays were explosive. I think last week says a heck of a lot about Arkansas's defense, because last Saturday, Georgia dominated the line of scrimmage against Auburn. The Bulldogs had 5.92 yards per play, 59% rushing success rate. The offensive line generated an elite 3.5 yards per carry, and 14% of their plays were explosive. And here's the kicker. They had 0% of their runs stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. 0%. To have none of your runs stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage against an SEC school, that's nothing to sneeze at. That is hard to do. And it was almost like they were playing against a directional school at the line of scrimmage. If you don't believe me, go back, watch the tape, and watch that Georgia offensive line block against Auburn's front. Now, on the other side of the ball, the Georgia defense has been consistent. And yes, the SEC has played a grand total of 2 weeks of football, but if there's a sure thing so far in the year, it is Georgia's defensive front. They've given up a grand total of 1 touchdown through 2 games. They are first in the SEC in defensive rushing and passing success rate. And if there's, something I can pick at on this defense, and this is when you look into their team, they are 8th in the conference in stopping the run at or behind the line of scrimmage, and in power situations, which we're talking about 3rd and 2 yards to go or less, they are 13th in the conference at allowing a first down in those situations. But as I said just a few seconds ago, you would have to search for something to pick at when you're talking about this Georgia defense. Tennessee's first offensive drive against Missouri was essentially the Vols testing the Tigers' manhood. That first drive was a tone setter, and Tennessee's offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage from the start. The final score and the difference in yards per play does not tell the entire story. The Vols were not in danger of losing this game. They controlled this game from start to finish. Running backs Eric Gray and Ty Chandler ran for 6.56 yards per carry and 4.73 yards per carry respectively. The mammoth Tennessee offensive line was responsible for 2.82 line yards per carry. This is a different Tennessee offensive line than what you are used to seeing over the last few years. Now, I cannot mention the Tennessee offense without mentioning their quarterback, Jarrett Garantano. If Tennessee is going to ascend to a potential SEC championship game berth, he must continue to play good football. Through 2 games, he's protected the football, and 17% of his passes have gone for explosive plays. Against Missouri, he had a 20% explosive rate. The passing success rate could have been higher, but if you're not turning the ball over and you're getting the ball to players who can make plays, your chances of winning is going to increase. Now, the Tennessee defense, quietly over the last few years, has been a good unit. Last year, the Vols finished 6th in defensive SP+, and last week they smothered Missouri. The Vols allowed a 35% overall success rate, and Missouri's ground game was halted with a 32% rushing success rate, the Tigers couldn't get anything going on obvious passing downs with a 25% passing down success rate, and the Tennessee Vols defensive line did not allow the Tigers to get any push up front, allowing 1.9 line yards per carry. Now, the Vols did allow the Tigers to get 5 scoring opportunities in the game, but the Vols kept the Tigers out the end zone. They allowed 12 total points, which when you do the math, that is less than a field goal. Overall, it was a workmanlike performance. Nothing too flashy, but if you're in the SEC and you're playing defense, you got to do your job defensively or you're going to end up getting embarrassed. As we talk about the keys of the game, for Tennessee, I believe they have to own the time of possession. I don't think Tennessee has the horses to come at Georgia for a full 4 quarters. So I think their best bet is to shorten the game, lean on their offensive line, and collect as many third and short situations as possible so that way they can possess the ball and control the clock. For Georgia, they have to open up the passing game. If there is a weakness in the Tennessee defense, they are 14th in the conference in passing explosiveness rate at 26%. Stetson Bennett was able to go down the field a few times against Auburn's defense, and he had a 27% passing explosiveness rate. Last week, Connor Bazelak averaged 10.4 yards per attempt for Missouri, and he had a 33% passing explosiveness rate against Tennessee's secondary. So, about last week, I said it was going to be a low-scoring defensive struggle. Then Georgia laughed at my prediction and proceeded to push Auburn's front around. I think this is a different front. This Tennessee front is not light in the draw, so to speak. Their defensive front is second in the conference behind Alabama in defensive line yardage by allowing 1.98 per game. On the other side, Georgia's offensive line is first in offensive line yardage at 3.14 yards per game. Which line is going to impose their will against the other? That is another part of the game to keep an eye on. Also, can Jared Garantano make good decisions with the football? Tennessee is tied for 7th in the country in turnover margin. And another small piece of business to think about, Georgia has a game next week against that team who will not be named. It's a little Harry Potter reference for those of you who may not understand where that's coming from. But could that play a factor in their preparation? In the end, I'm going to stick with Georgia, but I think Tennessee keeps this game close. I got the Bulldogs to the final score of 24-21. And that's going to be a wrap for this week. And let me know what your thoughts are in the game in the comment section below. Give me your score prediction. Tell me why your respective team is going to win the game. And I hope you enjoyed this video. All I ask is that you give the video a like. It helps the channel grow. And if you love college football as much as I do, hit the subscribe button if you want to stay updated with the latest previews and the occasional highlights. Also, if you want more charts, tables, and any other random stats about your favorite team, my link to my Twitter account is in the description below. And I'm positive it has popped up once or twice in the video. As always, I thank you for watching.